Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to make some butternut squash soup. So if you want to see that, then just keep watching. I've been sharing a lot of keto and low carb recipes here on my channel, and this butternut squash soup is not one of those. Butternut squash is a bit more of a starchy vegetable, so it does have higher net carb, but with the gloomy weather, the fall weather, I've just been needing something warm and cozy, and to me, that's a butternut squash soup. Up until just over 2 years ago, I never had a butternut squash soup before, but when I was leaving the hospital after having my horrible stomach pains that were related to just too much gluten in my diet, my dad was driving me back and we stopped by Panera Bread, and on their fall menu was a butternut squash soup. So I just thought that just seemed nice and good for my stomach, and I got back here and I ate it and it was amazing. And I loved it so much that I actually recreated it and took it to work for a few weeks after that because it was just so good. And I realized that I made that and I posted it to my Instagram, but I never shared it here as a video. So I'm going to share that with you. This recipe is gluten-free, dairy-free, so delicious, but again, not low carb because butternut squash is just not low carb. To make this super easy, I've already started preheating my oven to 400 degrees and I bought pre-cut butternut squash. Yes, there's plastic and a regular butternut squash would not have that. But if you've cut butternut squash before, you know how hard it is and how it never works. You're too weak. All these pieces are going everywhere. So I decided to take the easy route and I got pre-cut butternut squash. This is a very large container that Gelson's had. I believe Whole Foods has a bit smaller of containers, but this is 32 ounces. And if you have a big butternut squash, like the actual, butternut squash, you can just cut that in half and roast it. That way you don't have to cut it into dices while it's still hard. You can let it soften in the oven. But because it's so big, you'll want to put the oven to either 425 or 450 just so it can really cook it all. Since these are already pre-diced, it just said to go to 400 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. It usually takes about 30 minutes because they are so thick. But while the oven's still warming up, I'm going to lay these out. The oven's warm. So before I put them in, I'm going to lay these out on a baking sheet. To make it easy, using some avocado oil. This is just from Chosen Foods spray. Going to add on some pink Himalayan salt and some pepper. Now that those are on there, I'm going to put them in the oven and set the timer for 30 minutes. And while I am setting the timer to 30 minutes, I will come and just kind of toss them around at about the 15-minute mark just so they're all evenly cooked. And that's about all you have to do for now. Now there's about 15 minutes left, so I'm just going to take it out. Just kind of give them a little toss, make sure they're all getting evenly roasted. And they're looking pretty good, so maybe not even a full 15 minutes left, just 10 minutes. And now while that is in there for the remaining 10 minutes, I'm going to heat up a pot on the stove. I'm just gonna put it to medium now just so it can get hot since the electric stove does take a bit. And while that's heating, I'm going to dice up some white onion. So this is all I have left of my white onion, and that just seems like a good amount. And it doesn't have to be a pretty dicing at all. And over here on my warming up pot, I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of avocado oil. And while the avocado oil is heating up in the pan, I'm going to do about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. That's about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic if you wanted to mince it up yourself. I'm also going to add in that white onion that I just diced up. And just make sure that those are warming up and getting nice and aromatic in your pot. Mix it around for about 4 minutes. Once your garlic and onion has started to soften, you can add in some seasonings. So I'm going to go in with some cinnamon. I'm going to do the Ceylon cinnamon and the nutmeg. And if you want to have a little kick, depending on how much you like it, you can do a little bit of cayenne. Just let all of this mix together in your pot. While the garlic, onion, and your seasonings warm up in the pot, you're also going to add in some coconut milk. So I'm using coconut milk because it is a non-dairy option, so it's great if you don't like dairy or if you're vegan. And I'm going with the full fat coconut milk that's also unsweetened. You don't want to have that sweet sugary taste to it, but you do want the fat creaminess to really blend in with the butternut squash. You can go with the lighter coconut milk if you want to, but to me it just doesn't have the same effect. So I'm going to put in the entire can. Once that's in, again, you want to give it a few mixes just so it's nice and well incorporated and the coconut milk starts to warm up as well. So I have half a container of chicken broth left, so I'm going to add the rest of this into the mixture as well, just so it can warm up. That was maybe about a third of the carton total. Now I'm going to take out the butternut squash. It's all done and it is all nice and soft. And now we just have to add it to our pot. All right, now that all of the roasted butternut squash is in the pot, I'm just going to make sure that it's well mixed as well as turn off the stove. And now, so I don't make too much of a mess, I'm going to move the pot off of the hot burner onto a cool one. And so I can mix it all, I'm going to use my hand immersion blender. So it has this little part on the bottom instead of a regular whisk, and it will just blend it all together. I've also made this in my NutriBullet before I got this. So I kind of warmed it all up on the stove and then put it in the NutriBullet. So that's one way, but this is the easier way. Using this is also how I've made mashed cauliflower in this pot. So that is it for the butternut squash soup, and as you can see, it does make a lot of the soup. So if you are a family, you're making it for a group, then you can just make it on the stove right when it's hot, serve it, enjoy it, and you're good to go. But if you're someone like me who's like alone most of the time, then you can just store it in the refrigerator. It lasts super well. Again, I've made this as a meal prep, so I'll make it on Sunday and I'll have my butternut squash soup throughout the week. I just leave it in little Pyrex, warm it up in a microwave, and good to go. I've also seen people take butternut squash soup and put it in little ice cube containers. It is really good to freeze, and then you take the little ice cube size butternut squash soup pieces and just warm it back up on the stove. So you can do that as well if you need it to last longer, if you don't think you'll eat it throughout the week. So for me, I'm just going to have a serving now because I want to enjoy what I've created, and then I will put the rest in a Pyrex container and into my refrigerator. Let's get a nice serving going. One of the best things to top your butternut squash soup with is pepitas, which is just raw pumpkin seeds. Keeping it nice and fallish. Right here it is, all nice and done. Gonna get a scoop in now. Cool it off, cool it off. I love butternut squash soup so much. This is delicious, absolutely amazing. And again, it is dairy free, it is gluten free. If you use vegetable broth instead of chicken broth, then it is vegan. But I thought I had vegetable broth and I did not, so mine is not vegan. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite fall foods are and what you want to see more of on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.